Okay, so now 78.6. And when the moon rises, it appears in the sky and has a half of a seventh part of light. And on the 14th day, it makes all its light full, and 15 parts of light are transferred to it until on the 15th day, its light is full according to the sign of the year and amounts to 15 parts. So both 78.6 and 78.7 talking about the full moon is on the 14th and the 15th day. So the first day of the full moon day is the 14th day, then the second day of the full moon day is 15th day of the month. Again, it's reference back to chapter 73. Let's see, the full moon day is the 15th day. Then, as we read through this chapter 78, it confirms that the new moon, which is the beginning, the first phase of the moon, is on the 30th into the first day of the month. Okay. Points 78.8. Sorry, I haven't finished the 78.7. And 15 parts of light are transferred to it until on the 15th day its light is full according to the sign of the year and amounts to 15 parts. And the moon comes into being by halves of a seventh part. So because of the moon, the light is less brighter than the sun and it's only half of the brightness of the sun, okay, even though it's when it's full moon. Point 78.8, and in its waiting on the first date, it decreases to 14 parts of its light, and on the second to 13 parts, and on the third to 12 parts, on the fourth to 11 parts, and on the fifth to 10 parts, and on the sixth to 9 parts, and on the seventh to 8 parts, and on the eighth to 7 parts, and on the ninth to 6 parts, and on the 10th to 5 parts, and on the 11th to 4 parts, and on the 12th to 3, and on the 13th to 2, and on the 14th to half of a 7 part, and all the light that remains from the total disappears on the 15th day. So point 78.8 is talking about how the moon waning through the second half of the month, which is starting from the 16th day of the month, because when the full moon is on the 14th day and the 15th day, then on the 16th day is the first day of the waning of the moon, right? So on the 16th day is the first day of the waning of the moon, so it decreases to 14 parts of its lights. So one part of the light disappeared, right? So the second day, on the second, so which will mean the second day of the waning day, which is the 17th day of the month, the light decreases to 13 parts, which is 2 parts of the light disappeared, and so forth into the 30th of the month, which is the 15th day of the waning day. All the light that remains from the total disappears, right? Point 78.9. And in certain months, the moon has 29 days and once 28 days. And Uriel showed me another law when light is transferred to the moon and on which side it is transferred from the sun. All the light that the moon is increasing in its light, it transfers as it becomes opposite the sun. until in 14th days its light is full in the sky, and when it is up ablaze, its light is full in the sky. So again, this transfer of the light confirm the 14th day of the month is the full moon. Then now, like I said, when the point, each point doesn't say anything about anything but just mention the date, the number of the date. It's reference back to the day of the month. And then when it's describing something, the day referring to something, just like point 78.8, first day is referred to the waning on of the moon, the first day of the waning of the moon. So it refers to when the moon is waning, which is the 16th day of the month. Do you understand the concept of how he present his information? There's a description of that day. If the day has no description, it's directly referred to the date of the month. If there's a description of the day, it's referring to that process of that description. So the process of the description on the point 78.8 is about the waning of the moon. The process, the whole process, it will carry through total of 15 days. So the first day of the waning is after the 15th day of the month, which is the 16th day of the month is the first day of waning of the moon. I hope you understand what is saying here. So, okay, go back to 78.11. So the whole paragraph, the day doesn't have any description, just say until in 14 days. So which means the 14th day of the month then, right? Because there's no any other description of that, the date, about the day. So as 78.12, and on the first day it is called the new moon, and on that daylight rises on it. So again, the day of the new moon doesn't have any description of the day, of what is the process. There's no process. It just say the first day. The name of the first day is new moon, which is the first day of the month, right? Is that correct? And the daylight, which is sun, rises on it. The sun, like, overshadow it because the new moon has no light. And its light becomes full exactly on the day that as the sun goes down in the west, it rises from the east for the night, and the moon shines for the whole night until the sun rises opposite it, and the moon is seen opposite the sun. So it just described 78.13, it described the moon shine only when the sun goes down. Right? Is that correct? Because the sun is much brighter. It's double the light of the moon. So even though when the moon is in the same sky, the sun, when it's daylight, the light is overpower the moonlight. So when the sun goes down, which is at nighttime, the moon is the only light in the sky. So that's why it shines for the whole night until the sun rises opposite it. That it explaining the sun is the main light during the day because the sun is much brighter than the moon. But the sun will go down before the night falls. So during the night, the moon is the only light in the sky. So that's why it shines. Because the sun is no longer in the sky, that overpower the moon. Number 78.14, and on the side on which the light of the moon appears, there again it waits until all its light disappears and the days of the moon end and its disk remains empty without light. Okay, that is clear that point number 78.11, it says how the light, moonlight and sunlight is opposite, and the moonlight is full in the sky on the 14th day of the month. Then it's described the process of the whole month. So the 78.12 is talking about the beginning of the month. The first day is called new moon. So the new moon doesn't have any light, so the daylight rises on it, so the daylight covers it. And then the light becomes full on the day. So then the full moon is, so then it describes the full moon, and then because the full moon has light, right? Even during the nighttime. So then, at nighttime the moon has light, but the new moon at night has no light, right? And then 78.14, it says that when the moon wanes, gradually the light disappears. So it totally go the whole cycle of the moon cycle, right? The first phase is new moon at the beginning of the month. Then in the middle, the 14th and the 15th day is full moon. Then after the 15th day, starting from the 16th day to the end of the month, waning of the moon disappears again gradually. So that is the process of the month. Within the month, the moon phase. Okay, so that is how it goes. Because it didn't need to say like exactly what day again, because he already explaining that through chapter 78.6 to 8.6 to 8.